even though you just gave a very well thought out analysis of why the Chiefs are going to win the AFC anyway.
Yeah.
I give you a choice of Bills or an AFC North team to knock them off, even if they have to go to Arrowhead.
Yeah.
Would you choose what?
So it's interesting because the Ravens is that team that you want to pick, but their pass defense is so terrible that as soon as in your mind you match them up against a team like the Chiefs, you're thinking, how do they ever stop Patrick Mahomes throwing the ball? And I don't know how they would be able to do it, even though Lamar is surpassing his 2 MVP seasons in multiple categories right now, and he's the front runner, in my opinion, to win the MVP. Like, I don't know how you are able to win if you can't stop the pass in the playoffs, because you're going to play great quarterbacks every single week. I don't really believe in the Bills. I just feel like when you watch them, they're a team that seems to be flawed because I don't think they fully believe in themselves as contenders to beat the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And so I would actually say the Steelers are probably a team that could knock off the Chiefs, because you can't exactly say why they win these games. You're like, I'm not exactly sure why,
right.
But they don't make mistakes. They don't beat themselves, and they play such good defense. TJ Watt, the ultimate closer out there on the edge, rushing the quarterback, would give Patrick Mahomes a ton of problems. And if they can run the ball and play tough, like, sometimes that's a formula that wins games in the playoffs. Not saying it's going to happen,
right.
But if I had to pick one of those options, that's
what
I would say.
I boxed you into doing.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
You know, so okay, so you would take the Steelers out of those three, I guess, because we're not including the Bengals in there coming into the Thursday night game, needing to get back to 500. Joe Thomas here on the Rich Eisen Show. I did not include the Texans in that mix, and a lot of people thought that the Texans had a chance going into the season to surpass the Chiefs. They've just had a real tough time protecting CJ Stroud.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering why. Like, what has happened to that offensive line right now? And I don't know if it's Stroud playing less than he did last year, playing less than, because maybe he's concerned about the trash in front of him, and I'm not referring to his offensive line as such.
Yeah, but
I'm referring to the lexicon of football there, or the fact that he's speeding up because he knows he may have to, or it's just he doesn't have time. So what are you seeing out of the Texans?
Yeah,
it's fixable as well.
Yeah, and that's the problem, is if your offensive line's not protecting for you when they're supposed to, now you get the quarterback, he's looking at his feet. He's looking for, where are these bodies coming from? Where am I going to have to escape? And so instead of having confidence to go through his reads and his progression, he's worried about where the pass rush is. And then you lose a guy like Nico Collins, and you've seen his numbers drop off, because I think in his mind he was like, all right, if my protection breaks down, that's how he's walking to the line of scrimmage every play, which is not a way to be as a quarterback. But you can survive that if you got a guy like Nico Collins, where it's like, all right, if some bad stuff happens that we're not expecting, but I am expecting, boom, he's right there. And so you have that built-in security blanket right there that he doesn't have right now. And so he's kind of forced to go through his progressions, and I don't think he fully trusts the offensive line to get through those progressions and take what the defense gives him.
What you're seeing, is it fixable? Is
when Nico Collins comes back?
Well, I mean, I guess the protection, up front, is that something that, and how does one fix a leaky line? How do you do that, Joe?
Better players. I mean, it's really hard because you don't hardly ever see offensive linemen being traded. Right, you see receivers, pass rushers, because the chemistry that's built between an offensive line, it takes months, if not years, to be really good and proficient. And it's not like you can just plug somebody in there. So having more experience together can help cover up some flaws, because you can play to your strengths as an offensive line. For instance, if I'm a left guard and I know I'm just not very powerful, right? I just get bull rushed a lot. Hey, I can still play a little bit lighter on my feet, take away some of the speed stuff to the outside, some of the quickness stuff, and then we can just have my center come over and help. And if I'm getting bull rushed, he can just tea kettle the defensive tackle that's bull rushing him and just put him on his butt. And that guy's going to remember it. And then maybe he's thinking the next time, yeah, I can't take a bull rush anymore, because that's their game plan, is every time I try to bull rush, he's going to come and knock me. And so you can kind of play those little games within the games once you have a lot of experience and you got guys that have played together a long time. But that's not something that just happens overnight, because you just need that time together.
Who was the guy when you were playing in Cleveland that was just like, okay, this week I need to get my rest? Who was that guy when you were playing?
Freeney, Suggs.
Is that right?
Yeah, James Harrison. I mean, there was a lot of good there is a lot of good pass rushers in the league. It's a great league, and those are the most important positions: quarterback, pass rusher, left tackle, cornerback. So naturally, they get paid the most, and all the great humans with athletic talent in the United States get funneled to those positions first. And then if they can't do those, we'll gain weight, we'll play something else, or we'll lose a little bit of weight. And I said left tackle, by the way. But I think with the pass rusher, like, they're just such a dominant force to be able to change the game. And when you're playing a guy like Afrini, especially when you're on a team that's not so good, and I know, hey, we might be throwing the ball 45 times today, so he gets 45 one-on-one reps. Now, if I had that in training camp, that would be a nightmare. I'd fake a pulled hamstring or something so I didn't have to go out there in front of the fans and take 45 one-on-ones against Freeney. But that's the life you live as a left tackle.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku Channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.